Welcome. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us for yet another episode of Energy Geek Speak. Hi, this is Energy Geek Speak, episode... I don't even know what episode it is anymore. It'll say upstairs or downstairs here, depending on where this is posted. Anyway, hi, my name is Christine, Love Evolve Energy, and you have found this episode of Energy Geek Speak on Evolve Within Love YouTube channel. So welcome, and please be sure to check other people out as well. There's a whole bunch of stuff and a lot of interesting things coming up in the weeks and months to come, for sure. So let me just offer where I am. I'm going to get really specific here to give a context. So a lot has happened. We're at the tail end, launching into the tail end of 2020. And so for me, there have been a lot of shifts, and with the shifts comes some grieving. Collectively, we're grieving what our de rigueur norm was, and that is no longer. We all know this. Each of us are experiencing this in particular ways, and so what I wanted to offer today was a little bit of my insight based on some of the feedback I've been getting. Most of it amazing, some of it really interesting. What do we do with those who express their dukkha, their stress, their discomfort, and hopefully it doesn't slide into suffering? Full-on dukkha, right? Just the discomfort of life. I am in a grieving process for sure. A couple of terms that were thrown out to me. One in particular I wanted to unpack a little bit because I have a particular view on that as a spiritual practitioner, as a mystic, as an energy worker, as a meditation facilitator and practitioner, decades long, and someone who is a light worker going through a global, what some people are calling a global awakening. We can debate the truth of that and what exactly does that mean. All I want to mention here is something that points at a group of symptoms. So this term was coined, or was the title of a book by St. John of the Cross, a Christian mystic from, what's the date? I'll put that here now. Yay, St. John of the Cross. He talked about what his experience was within his deep spiritual practice of Christian mysticism. He called it the dark night of the soul. Dark night of the soul. So that has been bandied about quite a bit, and every major spiritual teacher uses that term. Some attribute it to St. John of the Cross, some do not. It doesn't really matter. They're all pointing at a similar point in your spiritual growth, your spiritual evolution. And are we experiencing en masse this type of event, a dark night of the soul? All of us? Maybe, maybe not. I want it to be really clear what I mean by this. It is perhaps not what other people mean by it. My lens is through Buddhism. And so in Buddhism, it is a series of lists, of very handy lists, which are really tiny little notes that are meant to be opened and unpacked, each little note. So there's one list entitled, through English translation, that's how I'm speaking about it now, I just want to be clear. It's my understanding and my interpretation of this particular list that goes by 3 marks of existence. What is this list of 3 marks of existence? And what happens when you move beyond a simple mental body, intellectual wisdom understanding of this and have a direct, full-on human experience of these 3 marks? My belief and my understanding, my experience has been and I will explain what these 3 are in just a moment. Hold your horses. When these 3 phenomenological experiences emerge in your life, 1, 2, all 3 of them at once in succession, it can bring about this depth, sometimes shocking, understanding of who you are, and shift that understanding in such a way that it rocks everything that you have understood about yourself and what life is. So the 3 of them are easy, and we throw them about as if they're whatever. So anatta, anicca, and dukkha. Anatta and anicca give rise to dukkha. So the first is, there is change. Things change. Impermanence. Nothing stays the same. It has subtle shifts here and there. Quick, eons old. Things move, things change. Including Mark 2, who you are, your sense of self shifts and changes. Who you are now is not who you were 25 years ago, 40 years ago, depending on your age. Is that the same person? When there's an experience of that markedly shifting, I am not who I was, who am I now? Some people call that mark of existence an experience of no self. I understand that more accurately, more specifically, is no solid, consistent sense of self. Both of these things, everything, it's like you're on a surfboard and suddenly you are not on a surfboard. That experience, the fluctuation of life, can lead to dukkha, stress, pain, confusion, leading to suffering. There are many different layers and stages to dukkha, all the way from I want this to be different, this has changed, to old age, sickness, and death, and everywhere on the spectrum there. So these 3 marks of existence, things do not stay the same, things are impermanent, including me, can lead to ouch. These 3 things together, arising 1 or 2, or perhaps all 3 at once, not simply as something how I'm explaining it now, something that as a philosophy is something thought, philosophized, theorized about, but as a smack. It often happens as like a rising smack, and suddenly it can be quite disorienting. Most spiritual practices will lead you to these kinds of sensations that will leave you in an experience of disillusionment, pointlessness. It can devolve into a kind of nihilism. It's really meant, once you have moved through these experiences and found a buoyant equanimity within these truths in every moment of your life, every second of your day. We ignore these truths most of the time, simply to function in the way that society has us functioning now. Any kind of spiritual practice that you commit to and you really take on and evolve in and grow, you will confront these three ideas in deeper and deeper ways. There's a certain point at which they will become so deep that they will rattle the very foundations of your life, who you know yourself to be, what is true and what is illusion. And gosh, this can be kind of stressful. You will move into that arena and you will approach it, and then you perhaps may back away from it. Hold on, I have to shift my lighting a little bit. No, we're good. You will move away from it and not complete the whole cycle, because it can be quite intense and shake you to the core. It's easy to back away, to approach it and back away, to go halfway through, think that you will not survive, and perhaps take actions to make sure that is true, and then back out of it. I had done that a number of times, I would say at least 2 times, for real. The third time I went into it was maybe a decade or more ago. And I completed the process. I completed all and stuck with it all the way through. I needed a guide, and I found a Buddhist teacher who really helped me find some calm and staying with. And I would describe all of my somewhat trippy experiences that can happen during this changing of the guard, so to speak. And it normalized it a bit. And normalizing it calmed me down. And I did not devolve into nihilism and back out of the entire process. I made it all the way through. And so, yay! Once you are able to do that, and there's a lot of different ways to do it, I highly recommend somebody who's already been through it, and somebody to hold your hand and a guide that can help you through, can make it a lot easier. Or even a book if you don't want to connect with another human. It's up to you. What happens in the decades and the years after that is a lot of integration. It becomes a launch pad for deeper and deeper awarenesses and deeper spiritual experiences. Because you make it through the dark night of the soul, I think people may be under the illusion that it's a one-time event. That your life will not suddenly become the Tower card and everything crumbles like this past year has been. And to a certain extent, I can roll with it, for sure. This past week, a series of events occurred, and I was hit hard and smacked in the face with some of the truths that give rise to events in my life of change, of inconsistency, nothing being the same. I have to move a bit because my lighting is changing. I think this is sufficient. Certainly for this conversation it is. And so, as I expressed that, I have this whole project where I'm really wanting to share more openly about what's going on with me. That has always been true. And so it's part of the project of becoming more grounded and human for me. And so I did this, and I shared some of the darker moments of my grieving process and just expressed, fuck, this is hard. I don't know where I am with this, and I'm in pain. This hurts. It's bewildering and confusing, and this is where I am. I had to amend it 2 times after that. I got a big influx of response of love, and a lot of people claiming, oh yes, dark night, you'll make it. Oh yes, dark night, make it. So what I didn't do was claim some kind of authority and saying, yes, I've been here before. Thank you for sharing. I have taught Dark Night of the Soul courses. I know what's going on here. I didn't get on my high horse of leading authority, and I know how to do this. I just let myself be human and expressed that. And it's interesting how different people threw that term at me, and maybe they understand it in their own context. I understand that in my context, and they're not wrong. They're not inaccurate. They're perceiving those 3 marks of existence becoming very real for me and dumping me into the dukkha, the suffering aspect of the truth of existence. It's a phase of grief. It is definitely a phase of grief. And so that's what they named. Not in the way I would name it. P.S. An experience directly of those 3 experiences, once dark night really resolves, leads you into stages of stream entry, sets the foundation, I think I already said that, for awakenings. Before that, many awakenings, for sure, I'll grant people that. The big fucking deal stuff happens after that. So what my point was really is that once you make it through that process and you understand in a very real way those truths of existence, it doesn't mean that you will never have deep pain again. It doesn't mean that you will have a deep realization again of those 3 marks all at once, or simply one. You will. You may not wander and waffle around in it for a couple of months or a couple of weeks. It may not be as painful. You may not follow through with your nihilistic tendencies. However, they will arise. It is the nature of the mind to experience life in some of those ways. And so that is true. That is true. That is true. It is true that during 2020, much of my life has collapsed. So we've all had not just one thing end, but a bunch of things like I change. And so that really reflects impermanence. And who am I now? Recreation of self. And before that can really blossom, I have to let go of a whole host of things. Life as I knew it has to change and is changing, whether I want it to or not. It's what is happening. And so, of course, I'm dumped into anatta and anicca. And there's a little dukkha that kicks on at the end, and that is my truth. And so I am balanced. Am I balanced? At moments I'm balanced, and the moments I'm not balanced and I'm completely falling apart, I hold myself with kindness and compassion. And I hold it because it's part of it. It's the truth of now. I don't judge it. I don't try to make it into something else. And if I do try to make it into something else, I accept that. It's a dance of radical acceptance with everything that arises, including my reactions and responses to that which arises. And so be it. And these days, that's part of what we are doing as light workers. We are holding those spaces and we are allowing those moments to arise. It's simply what is. It's simply what is.